Greetings, everybody, and welcome to episode 43 of the Sitcast, aka the Siblings in Cardboard podcast. I'm your host, Noah, joined by my buddies and a guest, Justin, Evans, and Thomas. Whether you're a veteran card gamer or a first timer just testing the waters, we're all siblings in cardboard. Guys and Justin, welcome on in. How have things been since the last time we talked? And thank you for standing in for Donnie, who's being an adult today, Mr. Justin.
Thanks for having me. I'm sad that Donnie couldn't show up, but happy to help out how I can. Been good for Flesh and Blood. Played, as I usually do, played a little too much Kano, got burned out on it again. And actually played Victor last night, had some fun with it at the Armory. And yeah, just had multiple multiple block cards in the same hand. I was like, that's enough of this.
It's like a chill week. How are you burning out on chill week? Like US Nats is over and we're kind of just hanging out until we start traveling for things like Pro Tour and Worlds.
The issue with like Kano though for me is that like I'll be like, all right, I have enough time, I'll play like one game of Kano, and then you'll do something really cool, and then you're like, all right, that gets you worked up, and you're like, I want to do something cool again. And you just kind of so it's the one more game issue. So you just end up playing 25 games of Kano in a day, and you're like, oops.
I think the only Flesh and Blood I did was Armory last week. And I actually won my Armory. It was a small one. It was just 4 of us that met up on Friday. And I was playing Riptide. And it was 2 Azaleas, a Riptide, and a Dash IO. And the Dash IO did a lot better than you'd think playing into 2 Rangers. I got I played Dash IO round 2 and got put down to 1 health. It was a 1 health clincher between the 2 of us, where I had to like keep covering breakpoints and stuff, and he had to keep asking me, do you have the frailty trap yet? And eventually I had the frailty trap and I killed him with it.
Eventually you get the frailty trap.
And then Azalea, I played 2 Azaleas, and I crushed the first one, and then the second one against Chris Martin, he got to do like the crazy thing where he did a dominated amplifying arrow with a seek and destroy effect on it, and he had Dreadbore out. And it's when I had my Buzzsaw trap in hand. And I'm like, this is exactly the trap I need. Except it has to be in my arsenal to use it. And so that felt really bad. Right. He also caught me with an inertia trap in my arsenal, and he played release the tension. So I was just like, man, I'm just getting kind of blown out here. And I managed to kind of have a couple turns where, yeah, he had these like really impressive arrows with a bunch of detrimental on hits, but I was still keeping life parity pretty well. And that's what I did in the first game. I won because every time he hit me with Red in the Ledger, I'm like, okay, E-strike for 7.
The classic Red in the Ledger answer is just always having
E-strike for 7. He hit me with a Red in the Ledger 4 times. I E-striked him for 7 4 times.
Nice.
As you might ask where I got the E-strike for the 4th one. He Codex of Frailty me, and I'm like, I bet I'm going to get hit with a Red Ledger eventually. I'm just going to sit this in Arsenal and block out. And then the very next turn, he Red Ledgers me, and I just E-strike for 7 out of Arsenal. But yeah, so the last game, it comes down to this like clincher. I'm at 1 health, and he's at 14. And I somehow managed to live long enough for Chris to draw up like a brick hand. He's not able to like lock me out, and then I just start throwing arrows that are detrimental enough that like chip him down, like the remorselesses and stuff. And man, the most addicting thing about Ranger, and especially Riptide, is how freaking broken Lace with Blood Rot into Searing Shot is. Do you understand how crazy that card combination is?
7, 8, 10, 2-card 10. If it hits.
It's a 2-card 10 if it hits. It's so nutty. Same thing with Drill Shot. Drill Shot's a 2-card 10, sometimes a 2-card 11 if it hits. Yeah. Same thing. I feel the same thing about Riptide sometimes when I sit and play him. He's really addicting. I didn't think he was going to be as much fun as he is, but I've had a lot of fun with him.
He's got good turn play patterns, right? You know what I mean? The trenching out feels good. Like CNC doesn't really affect you. You're just like, okay. You're just like trenching out.
Man.
Yeah, you got some traps in that hand, boy. You got problems.
There was a Riptide in round 1 of top 8 in which nationals? I can't recall, but I think he arsenaled a card and put in a card face down, and then it got command and conquered when he had 2 Rain Razors in hand. So he had just like the nuts hand, right? The double Rain Razor Lexi hand, and it got Command and Conquered in like top 8 of a Nats. It's brutal. CNC still hurts.
Yeah, okay. I just meant like your arsenal, you know.
Yeah, no, it still affects, but you are a little less affected by CNC.
Yeah, and some Riptides run standing order to make them even more resilient, right? Because one of the worst things about Riptide is he uses Codex of Frailty a little less effectively than some of the other classes. And one of the downsides to Codex of Frailty, you know, is people run CNC against you. You play Codex of Frailty and they have an open arsenal. What are they going to put in their arsenal? Probably going to be a Command and Conquer. So the standing orders are nice because it's just a clean block 5 when their when they have a Frailty token on their CNC. So it's just a nice counter to that play pattern. Anyway, so yeah, even though it's been like a slow week, I imagine something's happening in the market.
It has been. It's been a slow week for me as well in Flesh and Blood. I've been trying to look at different Dory decks and stuff. I've been talking and looking at, so there's not very many tournament results for it. There's only still that one Dory win, but it was Dory v Dory in the finals, so it's kind of funny.
Did you open any cards this week? You still have like a huge backlog, right?
I did. So I finished the rest of the Dynasty. There wasn't anything crazy. I'm trying to remember. I don't think there was anything like outstanding in the Dynasty. I would have jumped for joy. Pretty basic stuff. A lot of Majestics, a lot of foil Majestics. Had like weird double foil Majestic packs. Like Dynasty rates are always so weird. Then I had some really weird Outsiders boxes. I didn't get any cold foils in either one of them, which I don't know if this was some of like the early Outsiders. You know, Outsiders had that weird coalition thing at the beginning where it was like a feast or famine. You either had a God box or it was like the box had nothing in it. And so like neither one of them had cold foils. And I was just like, well, man, I was at least expecting a common cold foil. So it was weird. I was like, whatever Majestic I got the foil version of that Majestic each time. So it was bizarre. Everything was looking kind of weird. Then I pulled a Plague Hive, so I thought that was really funny. So at least there's Plague Hive. It wasn't cold foil, but we take it. And then I haven't finished up the rest of the Mistveil. There's still one more case, and there's still 2 cases of Everfest. But I did open the rest of the heavy hitters, and there wasn't anything pretty good. It was a pretty rough heavy hitters 4 boxes. Some solid Majestics, but like no Marvels or any type of or even legendary.
It was a little kind of feast or famine.
There's definitely some feast or famine. But and I've almost done all the mail. I've got such a huge log of cards that I still have to put up, but the store is almost ready to go live, which is good. And then I've been almost done acquiring all the Azalea pieces that I'm still missing, like just like some Seeks and some pre-meds and stuff like that. So it's just like 1 or 2s. I've been pulling aside all the frailties and stuff and the Bolton shots, and so I should have it done so I can go act like I know what I'm doing on Azalea. And I've been goldfishing some of the hands at least.
You just take your hero card and turn it sideways and hope that the card that it flips was good.
Right. I mean, look, let's be real. Like, I kind of understand it, you know, flip, opt. Wow, that's really good.
Step
one. Surprised
what does it look like on top?
I'm a little surprised that you didn't like get into Azalea like very quickly, because she's like the epitome of smart gambling, right? She's a very off the top of the deck hero.
She is.
Friend of the show, Andrew Lorenz, describes the deck now as like a statistics class of just like, you basically do like blackjack counting and just be like, all right, well, I've seen 15 non-attack actions. I've seen 6 arrows. What's on the top of my deck?
Yeah, you're going.
An arrow.
Yeah, you're doing +1s and -1s.
Probably an arrow. Yeah, no, it's new, so anything new is a little scary. It's a little daunting. Talishar has its ups and downs. Some games are a little bit more casual and relaxed. You know, you could take the time. So I've just been goldfishing and trying to understand why I'm playing the turn a certain way, rather than just sitting there on Talishar reading my cards. So I will come get my my butt beat in Armory soon enough. And then just work's just been busy. It's just training and just trying to fit everything in. But the market is actually in a lull. It's just we're in that inner period right now. A lot of things have solidified. I think there's a ton of misfilled product that's been opened up. So you guys, you can even look at the misfilled prices, even though most of the heroes are meta.
When you say lull, are things stuck high, or did things kind of come back down and
they crash back down to earth? And this is across the board. So we're gonna talk about speculations because they just don't exist right now. This is actually a time to buy again. Things aren't as low as they once were, so you're not gonna get like 25-cent or 30-cent channel thunder steps or whatever, but they're like $3, and Kindle's like $3 right now. And oh, speaking of which, we gotta go check my real quick. Check that that pet card of mine. Just
poison the well.
Yeah, there you go. Just take a look at it real quick. It's still at $5 with shipping, about $4 to $5. So it's okay. Like I said, we're gonna sit on that one. It's that one was a good one. That's like your 30-cent card come to life. But the meta, like I said, they're waiting for the new cards, and this is going to be an interesting set because as we talked a little bit about it beforehand, we're not going to know the full list of cards until people sit down with the product and look at the Majestics. And so there's going to be a fire sale sort of at the release. It's going to take a while to ripple out, and so you might get some of the commons, you might get some of the legendaries, but that bigger picture might not fully be revealed until people actually have all the Majestics. So this is going to be an interesting set. So what we're going to do today is we're just going to kind of talk about some of the meta defining generics, like, why is this card prevalent in the meta and how much is it? So, hey, I want to play in this meta. What should I buy and why, kind of a thing. And there are going to be some familiarities, but we're just going to kind of touch base on how much they are. And we'll kind of rapid fire some of the main armor pieces for the main culprits of the meta right now. Your Zen, your Azalea, your KO, your new, kind of a thing. Just to, hey, I want to get into this deck. How much am I looking at? So we're going to talk about Snag really quick, just because it's been an up and down card. Nobody thinks it should be as much as it is. It kind of fell back down to earth. It's still $10, which is still pretty good for Snag. I know people, you're shaking your head like it's not worth it, but it's worth it.
Apparently she's winning tournaments, so.
And it might go back up. I mean, maybe just a little bit.
Higher Snags.
Yeah. So the reason it's so good too is you got to understand it's a blue card. So Enigma can play Snag pretty much for free. Granted, it doesn't block, but it activates Transcendence. You're playing another blue card, so you get to Transcendence off of it. It doesn't necessarily feel the worst. It pretty much hoses whatever you're snagging for new if you are playing against new. So it's like a silver bullet. It's very targeted. It's kind of the same way Warmongers targets Azalea right now, which Warmongers will get better as the Arcane Heroes come out. So Snag came from Crucible. It's a blue, doesn't block, a generic instant, pitches for 3. Cost 0. Attack action cards can't gain power from their own effects or the effects of attack reaction cards this turn. This only affects attack that would be gained after Snag has resolved. Oh, never mind. That's right. That flavor text doesn't matter. That was wrong. Never mind. Ignore that part. You don't have to do any kind of crazy
Snag
Yu-Gi-Oh.
is better than it reads. The article text for it is it just says attack doesn't work anymore.
I forgot. No Yu-Gi-Oh shenanigans. Now I put my Snag on the stack. You don't have to worry about that. Just snag them. You're an Enigma player, Mr. Justin.
Among other things, yes.
Among other things, you are an Enigma player. Do you feel Snag is a readily available card that Enigma just kind of can huck in her deck without too much of an opportunity cost of having another non-block?
She could just huck it in her deck. It's like a sideboard card if you really think that new is going to show up in your area. The issue is that Enigma already has really good cards for that matchup.
So you're already pretty favored into that
matchup.
Yeah,
that's one of the reasons to play Enigma is if you think new is going to be around, you just smack in 3 Sinks, 3 Fates, a couple Hold the Lines because you need to be prepared for Zen anyways. And that's your react package, and then you're just in Mirror Guy waiting rooms.
It's funny you say that because this is almost like, and I'm trying to think, there's another matchup quite like it. New players think they're favored into Enigma. Enigma players think they're favored into new.
I don't know about that.
This is exactly how it feels. News are like, don't have any problems with Enigma. I've got my package.
They feel rough into Enigma.
And then people are like, no, news solved. Don't even worry about it. We just put those big attacks and play value, and New just can't figure it out. We're not even on the board state.
I was
kind
playing
of
some crappy like 3 visits Enigma, and I was still bullying News.
To be fair, I think since Ethnic Smoke Package won that Battle Harden, it actually like put out a good new list.
Mm-hmm.
There's a video on the Plague Hive where they talked to a couple new players where like one of them was like a very chi heavy build, the other one was like very chi light build, and hearing like the strengths and weaknesses of those decks. And then now like Yuha, the guy who just won the Finnish National Championship, just put out another deck tech. Like that deck is getting insanely refined.
Mm-hmm.
right.
And I think when it came out, we were all pretty sure that was the one that was going to need the most work of all the decks.
We didn't know if it was like a low stealth deck, a high stealth deck, high attack reaction deck. Everybody realized, hey, attack reactions are cool and all, but turns out you can only play like 12 of them. If you play any more than that, you just brick.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just took a little while for people to figure out the ratios.
Okay. So Snag's in the meta right now.
Very good card.
It is a very good card. This next card continues to go up. I just kind of kicked myself that I didn't pick it up. I was told to pick it up. That's the weakest link. I just think that this card gets better every week we go on. I want you to know I was watching games on the way to work, and when I say watch, I was just kind of like listening and trying to like understand. Like, can I see the board visually as they're playing the cards out? But let me tell you, weakest link got played almost all the time. I mean, it's so good, guys.
Just read the text on the card. The card says it does. It's one of the highest value 2 for 6s that you could play if it meets the condition that you're playing it in.
And oh boy, does it meet its conditions.
Right.
And this meta, it's meeting conditions left and right.
It could be a higher value than Command and Conquer, right? Because you can get the draw card along with forcing your opponent to lose a card. So you're reaching like 12 points of value or more potentially if you're thinking about cards at 3 points.
Yeah. Weakest link is a part the misfail generic attack action. It costs 2. It's a red, pitches for 1. 6 attack, 3 block, which is beautiful, means it is a pseudo popper. Granted, there's only one illusionist you're popping right now, but those Enigmas like to run those big attacks, your Phantasmaclasms and your Mirage Metamorphs. So they do like to come at you at these heavy 9s and 7s, and you're just like, well, I don't really want to block that, So it doesn't feel too bad to at least have a popper or something. But it's so universal. I mean, it's hitting cards with no blocks. These misfail heroes want to transcend. There's other heroes that have no blocks. Not as many. But it does definitely feel like a very good, solid sideboard card, and it's currently sitting at $18. And so this is a card that's brought up by the meta. It'll be, if it's not good in the meta, it's going to go back down. So definitely a meta-defined card.
What's funny is a couple classes catch some strays against it, like Mechanologist catches strays.
Yeah, I don't think this card's ever going away.
Yeah,
for the
it's
record.
pretty strong.
No, not away.
It's going to sit there in the toolbox along with like Amnesia and Humble and stuff.
And Censor and things like that.
This is like, it goes CMC, the weakest link, everything else.
I agree, actually.
Battlefront Bastion's pretty high up there.
Bastion is fine, but like even think about this next set coming, right? Like one of the balancing tools that they use for Wizards is they give them no blocks around some of the crazy instants that they want to do, right? And we know Runeblade hasn't historically played a lot of instants and hasn't played a lot of no blocks. Yeah, that might be changing. But definitely, like even looking at some of the cards that have been, like some of these lightning cards that are being printed, for example, right? Like the Thunder Valley and or Lightning Valley and all that kind of stuff. Like more instants are being put into the game, and if more instants are going to be put into the game, weakest link is just going to keep going up and up.
I agree. I definitely think this 18.
Okay, that's not that bad.
No, it's not. But like again, the more heroes this thing can hit, the more it goes up. You know what I mean? It's like anything. It's like Amnesia. I think at one time its high was like 24, 25, just when it was like people were just like, we gotta have Amnesia, because Katsu was running around like buying up all the turn. The people are like, man, we want something that he feels like he has to block. And Amnesia was like, oh, I've got to block this usually, because you don't want your cards to lose names. It's at the battle. This next card I think goes through the roof towards the next set. It's been high pretty much since it came out, and it just continues to go up. And that's Warmonger's Diplomacy. If again, I say this every week, if you don't have a playset of these, you're doing yourself a disservice as a competitive player. This is a card that you sneak in at 3 as a blue. Like this is a blue block 3. Okay, we're gonna get to that.
It is
but Warmonger's
really potent.
I didn't realize it was $65.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Warmonger's Diplomacy is $65, and I promise you it can top out at 80.
Man.
It is going to be the blue version of CNC. This is going to be like, do you have 3 Warmonger's Diplomacies at $80 a piece come Runeblade Chaos when Runeblades are running amok? If you know, it's only a matter of time before
kind of
they unleash it.
hero to play, but it turns out beating Azalea is also pretty expensive.
Yeah, that's rough.
Guys, you gotta get this. I know it's a tough card. It's from Dusk Till Dawn. That set's actually quite high on the price right now. Reason is there's still artist cards. We talked about this well before when Dusk Till Dawn came out. We said Dusk Till Dawn will sell. It'll go down really low. Then people will go, oh, there's still artist cards, and then they're just gonna wonk all that stock back up. Like we knew this was gonna happen.
It's a one
called it a long time ago.
The longer it goes without those cards being opened, the more the boxes start becoming worth because they start being like raffle tickets for the artist card, right?
Yeah.
And guess what happens? Warmonger's goes up.
If there's like 2 artist cards left and only 10,000 boxes of Dusk Till Dawn left, then it starts getting narrower and narrower and narrower where those last 2 artist cards are.
Yeah.
So Warmonger's Diplomacy, as we said, is a blue. It pitches for 3, it blocks for 3, costs 0. It's a generic action. It does not have go again, mind you, so don't think you could just play this out and then go, now for the rest of my turn. Need to play that at the end or with something that gives it go again. Starting with the hero to your left, each hero chooses War or Peace. If they choose War, the only actions they may play or activate during their next turn are weapon attack and attack actions. If they choose Peace, the only actions they may play or activate during their next turn are non-weapon, non-attack actions. So obviously that's White Hoses Runeblade, White Hoses Azalea.
Ranger in general.
It's tough. I mean, Rangers they want to pump, they want to shoot, and you're saying, nah, you got to pick one. So long draw glove kind of helps out a little bit, but it sucks. It sucks to be under the effects of Warmongers if you're a hybrid deck like that, trying to play out your attack actions and your non-attack actions.
Card is a pretty heavy tax on the deck. You say blue block 3, like that's just something that you can put in decks. That used to be true. That's not really true anymore. Like because of the current meta, your cards need to do stuff. Like
I agree. There's a lot of there's only so many sideboard. Right. There's only so many sideboard slots. You know how everybody says, I wish I had like 5 more slots to target X deck, right? So it does come at a price. You bolster your stocks against Azalea and other decks, and you kind of like lose a couple of cards you could put against your other matchup. So it does come at a cost. The next card, generic wise, it's been around, I think, ever since Balance kind of came in and all these heroes that are drawing cards, and it hasn't changed. It's Hold the Line. This card has stuck. This card has held the line, might I add, in its own price longer than I think a lot of these generic defense reactions do.
People poo-pooed on the card a bit when it first came out. And I just thought to myself, a blue defense reaction that's a 2 block that can go up to 5 blocks always seems viable.
I mean, I guess people were like, "Oh, it's conditional upon drawing." How often is that going to happen?
Doesn't matter.
Every game.
But it's blue. It's not blue block 3, right? But it's a defense reaction, so it's a combat trick. It's a combat trick with a really, really high ceiling.
I like it. Hold the Line is also from Dusk Till Dawn, so go figure. It is a blue, 0 cost, pitches for 3, only blocks for 2, generic defense reaction. If the attacking hero has drawn 2 or more cards this turn, prevent the next 3 damage that would be dealt to your hero this turn. And that's at $21, which is kind of where it's been. It's been hanging up there above 20 for a hot minute now. I think upwards is the highest it's hit was about $30 at the height of its price spike.
Probably the prime KO meta.
Right, at which KO's kind of taken a little bit of a backseat, but a lot of heroes still draw multiple cards a turn, whether it's through Art of War or through transcendence effects, or there's tons of whether it's Prism doing Tome or Tome of Harvest comes back. So drawing cards is going to be prevalent. These here, like they're trying to make that part of heroes' identities. Hey, I get to draw some cards. Wizards draw cards off of Tome of Aetherwind, like although it does prevent. Be real, but you have to defend something. That's probably not going to happen.
Have to defend something.
Never mind.
They'd have to throw like a lightning surge at you.
They're not throwing it. Never mind. Don't think you're getting it off against the Wizards.
We don't know.
You never know. Because I was hoping when they do print more wizards that we get like a hybrid combat wizard, not just a pure non-attack action wizard.
So a rune blade.
No,
which is coming out too.
No, I still want the wizard to be able to like manipulate on both turns. And maybe that's what we'll get with our lightning rune blade, right? Or maybe our lightning rune blade will be that kind of more combat wizardy feeling character where she'll be able to do things on both turns, because what's the new channel
Lightning Valley, or
the one that says every time you do your thing you get to draw a card on both turns, so you want to try to proc it on each turn.
That says draw 4.
Yes, it does. That card might be what makes lightning playable, right? It might revolve around getting that card out and getting the 4
and you got shock charmers pinging you. Oh my god, you're gonna get nickeled and dimed. It's gonna be rough. It's gonna be kind of fun. Again, I'm pretty excited for.
Can't wait.
The identity of some of these heroes, and I think it's gonna bring a lot more to the game, and kind of break things up a little bit. We'll have to see if Zen is gone by then at the rate he's at. I'm gonna rapid fire so we can get into the Nats results. These ones are more hero specific. We're just gonna go through. If you want to know what they do, you just have to look them up. But I'll give you the price. Ancestral Harmony. This is if you're playing Zen, you're going to need this card, bread and butter, obviously, along with Art of War. Art of War is $30. It kind of fell back from that really high spike for a second at $40. Ancestral Harmony sitting at $24.50. Aptly priced. It's an amazing card. That like, are you playing Zen? You need Ancestral Harmony.
I would be careful about buying this one. I think if we get targeted bans towards Zen, the most likely candidates are going to be Boots or Ancestral Harmony.
I don't think they're going to ban anything.
They don't hurt Katsu. It doesn't hurt Katsu. It doesn't hurt Phi. And I think Zen's perfectly playable without it.
It restricts the identity of Katsu from being able to tech that card in, though. And I don't think they should hit Katsu just because he's abusing it.
You want to know why Katsu runs it? It's a blue block breed that costs 0.
Yeah. Oh, for Kadachis. Well, see, like, hey, let him run it.
Like the number of times you resolve it, like you sit down and you go play a tournament. Let's say you play 7 games, like at like a Battle Harden or something. The number of times you're going to resolve Ancestral Harmony as Katsu is maybe once a game, maybe. Usually you will resolve it on average no times per game. It's going to be your card block, or it's going to be a Kadachi swing. But I'm
on team Don't Hurt Katsu.
Yeah, don't like Katsu is fine. I think Katsu is a very skill intensive deck, and I think he's fairly balanced, as shown that even when good pilots play him, his success rate is 55-60%, just like a good deck should be.
And the flip side of this is it actually feels good to know what you're blocking. Like, oh, I blocked that Katsu out perfectly. Like, it's skill expressive both ways. Like, you look at the chain, you go, that many cards in hand, look at the graveyard, and you kind of go, okay, I can let this hit, or I can't let this hit, and here's why. So you get rewarded for really understanding, why am I blocking this part of the chain against the Katsu and not anything else? And so it's a great matchup.
So I guess this segues pretty neatly into a question that we asked last week, and I said that we can't really answer yet. Is Zen too strong? We can talk about nationals, and we've got a lot more data on nationals now. We've got this really nice spreadsheet that was provided to us.
Shout out Bishra at TCG. I know he's had a lot of people helping him out with it, but or them helping them out with it. And it's just literally, it has everything. Has little total hero counts, like how many Phis were played at the Denmark National Championships, and like things like that. To where it has like an insane breakdown of everything.
I
of how
think
much like each hero is being played.
the fact that it has like the top 8 breakdowns, because I think the
Yeah.
top 8 breakdowns are the most important data point to
Mhm.
what a meta is, not necessarily the winner.
Yeah.
The winner is just a forecast of what the meta is going to become, right? Because we're going to guesstimate when Living Legend's going to happen to that hero. But I think last week, I think I was pretty on the fence on whether I thought Zen was possibly too strong. Now I'm actually pretty confident in saying that Zen is a little bit overtuned.
Yeah.
He's winning too
He's
much.
he is 15% of the total meta breakdown, right? So like if you look at the total number of heroes played across every single national championship in every single country, he's 15.9%, right? And that to me for like a best deck feels pretty low. But then when you look at his top 8 number, it's 49. The next highest hero is 26,
Yeah.
right? With both new and KO.
He's got basically double the top 8 representation of the second highest hero. And
yeah, and he doesn't have double the representation in Swiss of the next highest hero either. Right?
And yeah, his success rate is just crazy, and it's also extremely telling that the second most successful hero is his counter.
Yep.
Like Nu was created as a foil to Zen, like just straight up. She's the best hand shredder in the game. She can sit on a pretty even power level sometimes against heroes like Zen, because he does play playable blues. So her hero power does mean something. So overall, I just think that the fact that the most successful hero and the foil to the most successful hero are the dominant winners of this national season is pretty telling that Zen is probably too powerful.
He's a scump's too powerful, like, in my opinion. This format has felt very fun to be playing and not fun to play against, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I see what you're saying. You're either joining them, but you're not beating them, is what you're getting at.
Not really even that. Like, when you're playing Zen and you're doing, like, triple bond stuff, that's pretty cool, right? When you're new and you're getting to, like, do Siren's Call into Chi, into, like, a Mask Banish, and then getting to use new ability, like, that's pretty cool, too, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
if you're Enigma and you're getting to do, like, play Mirror Guy, and then you spend a turn, like, defending Mirror Guy, and you're able to keep that out for a couple turns, like, that's a cool thing to be doing. These are cool things. Like, Kano, I could talk all day about how cool Kano is. He does a lot of cool things, right? Like, these heroes are super cool to play against, but if you want to talk about, like, do I enjoy sitting down across from a new? Hell no. I do not ever want to sit down across from a new, even if I'm favored. I don't want to deal with that.
Speaking of sitting down across from news, the third most successful hero wins wise is actually really surprising. It's Victor.
Yep. He's also, once he gets to top 8, he has the most insane top 8 to top 4, and then to win conversion rate.
Yeah, that one Nats. He had to beat an Enigma or a Kano and a Nu to win, right? Dude, talk about earning your win. Like the fact that he beat a Nu, and Nu's just got so many cards that she could use against the Victor. Victor is pretty decent into Zen. I think if your cards are a little bit teched for it, and I would assume that the Victors were teched against Zen and maybe even teched a little bit against Nu to be successful.
Yeah, so I've seen the deck lists of the 2-that-won, 2-3, 2-that-won. And both of them are very much prepared for Zen and playing cards like Crush the Weak, which also hits Nu because the stealth cards that they want to play are 3 power or less. So it's kind of a 2-for-1 tech piece that's been really, really nice. It's been a good find and a good addition. The Nu matchup isn't as bad as I expected. Like, I played that last night. I've been playing it a little bit. Like, sometimes you just get snowballed and there's nothing you can do about it, and they hit you for 26 with your own cards and you just die. Like, whatever. But
when someone swings a beckoning mistblade at you and you're like, oh god, it's coming in for 1, but it's actually coming in for about 7.
Yeah, this is coming in for 10.
Yeah.
you gotta block out, boy. But yeah, I actually played Donnie last night. We did that matchup and I was steamrolling him. I was up like 32-4. And I let him out of the house once, like basically that matchup as the Victor player, it feels like I have to win a bunch of clashes.
I let him out of the house.
I have to win a bunch of clashes, and then like I have to hit him with disable and pulverize and crush the weak and CNC and just like make sure he can never play more than like a 2 or 3 card hand, because that's when New gets really really tricky, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you see bonds plus 1 card in hand, it's like, all right, that's not the worst thing in the world.
Or like a big hiss turn and they break boots and use a bunch of cards.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I had to like keep
one...
him. I had to keep him in the house, and then he got out of the house for 1 turn. I just did like E strike and E strike, and then he hit me for 26 with my own cards plus 10 of his own damage. And we had a game. Yeah, and then we had a game all of a sudden. We were like, oh, okay. I wound up winning, but it was like insanely close.
Right.
But like that matchup is winnable as Victor. Enigma, I think there are some game plans that Victors can use to beat Enigma. It's kind of counterintuitive, especially to how like Victor wants to play normally. And Kano, I have no clue how he beat. Like I gotta talk to a Kano player.
He like zealous belting and jackdawed him to death. He just hit him. He just hit him. Like he only had 30 health and no armor. Sometimes you just get there.
I wonder if he left in the Cinderings and Kindles, because you're not supposed to in that matchup. That's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe. Because you can kind of slow roll it a little bit against Victor, right? He has to like really high roll.
Yeah, it depends on how much AB they present. If they present AB3, you're still supposed to present like your tempo package, see what they do, and like kind of chip, and then all right, clearly they're on the aggro stuff. They're gonna tap out at some point to do something, and then you just nuke them. But I'd have to look and see. I'd actually have to watch that game. But yeah, but Victor, like, it's a deck that's like come back up into the meta. It's a good counter pick to Zen-ish. Like you can still just get got by Zen because he's Zen.
But it also gatekeeps a lot of the lower meta too. I mean, like I don't particularly like, even if I'm enjoying playing Dory and what I was going to say is New definitely has to keep 3 cards usually. 2 cards isn't enough for New. There has to be some kind of threat to the 1 power attack.
New still has her good 2 card hands occasionally.
It's just like when I do play that matchup, I break all my armor by like turn 2 or 3. Like the game needs to end in 6 turns. Like I'm not letting New take the game to second cycle. We're not methodically playing this out. Like you're either blocking my Dawn Blade every turn and you're not playing anything, or I'm gonna run you over. And so I mean, the couple of games I played against Donnie and other news and stuff, I get up to 5 counters because they just like, they're like, well, I want to hold my hand. It's like, okay.
I'll block you on the next turn. And then I'll block you on the next turn. And then it gets to where you're like, oh, I'm gonna lay my entire hand. You're like, I'm going over anyway.
Yeah, and then he did it. He blocked 12 and I 20'd, and I said, here comes the 3 swing. So I was like, because it's like that's the point. Like if I put you in a position, I put you in a position where it's like, do I have it? And if I have it, you're kind of like, because like that's the feels bad. And then your Transcendence cards group up together. You've got no blocks and stuff like that. So New's hands can get away from her. It's like an all or nothing kind of a thing.
It's a very skill intensive hero because you have to evaluate your life total really well and what your disruption is worth on that turn. Because you're like looking at this hand like, man, this is the cool hand. This does the thing where the Bonds of Agony, and then it's like, actually, you probably just need to block with it and maybe swing a dagger and move on. Like,
if you want to watch a masterclass on New, Ben Dodd in the top 8 round of New Zealand Nats played a game versus Matt Rogers on Zen, and Rogers did low roll a bit, but Dodd played it to perfection. It was legitimately like watching someone make art, where like his blocking decisions, his attacking decisions, he blocked with a Bond Siren's Call Venomous Bite hand and a blue, and I was like my mind just melted because I was just like, that hand in every world says we're throwing this Bonds at this guy and we're doing the thing, but he just blocked it out and said we're just going to play this game again next turn. And like it was actual art. If you want to play, like if you want to pick up New, that's the first game you need to watch.
So let's wrap back around. Does Zen need to be adjusted?
Is he at Lexi levels is what I was going to ask when we got back to this conversation. Do we feel he has more representation in wins? Are we at like the Lexi level of,
I would say
it's that
if I recall the data correctly, Lexi had a higher representation and a higher win rate, but Lexi was on the twilight of her Flesh and Blood career already. There was no
She also
reason to
didn't-
do such a dramatic adjustment that we got the Briar situation where you sit at the cusp of living legend for 4, 5, 6 months.
Did she have a
Zen is
kryptonite
brand
too?
new.
Like new as a kryptonite to Zen. Did Lexi have a kryptonite like an actual
I feel
hero?
like I found the Dash IO deck that preyed on Lexi right before she hit living legend. I had a very high win rate into her. But I guess a well-played Icelander had some game.
No.
Was it?
No.
Then it really
Dude, I
wasn't.
banged my head against that wall
then-
all the way through that meta.
Then was it
You
the
could
best thing to
absolutely-
beat Lexi was just another Lexi?
The best thing to beat Lexi at that time, in my opinion, was Azuri. But even then, by the
Yeah.
end of that time, that by
Shifted.
like the time Nat season rolled around, all the Lexis understood just don't Arsenal and just like get in
Yep.
there.
Yeah.
And
That's-
by that point, it was like,
Yeah,
all right,
just
cool.
block with the card instead, or play the most efficient hand you can using your entire hand. Don't
You're not setting up a 5-card hand.
Yeah, then you don't care. You're just like, okay, leave no witnesses, sure.
Yeah, exactly.
You risk like getting fatigued a little bit, but not really. Like the fact having to defend that Arsenal card is also a way of fatiguing. So then, okay, he's not as powerful as Lexi, but
And he has a counter to an extent. So there's
That-
anti-meta
hold on.
play.
having 2 decks is zero difference from having 1 deck. If your deck, if you have a BDIF, best deck in the format, and you have a foil to that deck, that's the expected meta of
Right.
a overly
Of most card
powered
games.
best deck in the format. No, not most card games.
Well, you have meta and then anti-meta, and then usually something that targets the
That's
anti.
Magic
I mean,
the Gathering. Flesh and Blood isn't Magic the
Yeah,
Gathering.
dude, we just saw Nadu have like a 70% conversion rate into top 8.
Yeah,
or top
no
54,
one
whatever.
wants that in Flesh and Blood. Flesh and
No
Blood
one wants
is a little bit more math focused, but when it starts to lean a little bit too far into the combo, that's when things might need to be adjusted a little bit. Does Zen need adjusted? I think he does.
I would say something small. Like,
Ban
it's
the
not
boots.
like
Start with that.
hit the booth at first, see if it does enough. If it doesn't do enough, tag one of the cheese that only he plays, or like tag something like his sacred art or something. Like,
My idea was like Ancestral Harmony because it doesn't actually hit Katsu very hard at all.
so I don't mind having like powerful things, which is kind of my like this has been a Degens meta, and I have been loving it. I've absolutely loved playing in this meta. It's been fantastic for me.
I've enjoyed
But,
it too.
like,
I don't
it's
think
a lot of fun.
I don't think having an overpowered deck for a month or two is even a problem. I think it can actually be kind of invigorating and fun because you have people theory crafting of how do I get into the meta and beat this deck and so on, or if you're part of the group that finds the deck, you have a really great time. I don't think that's a problem. I think the fact that that he's going to end up at almost half of his living legend points in the first season after his release is a little bit of a problem. And the only reason KO isn't doing the same thing is because Zen beats KO pretty consistently.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, let's look. I think while heavy hitters meta for a lot of people like myself wasn't the most interesting meta just because it was math, the format,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like you were playing dual wield warrior, you're playing KO, you're playing Victor,
Yeah,
right?
you're
Like
playing
these
Math
were
Victor.
Yeah, you're playing like math Leviah at this point, right?
Mhm.
Like you were just trying to like amp up consistency because you're like, I just need to be able to go along with everybody, right?
Yep.
You only,
And
like,
you're playing a
take math
Leviah
deck
that
and-
wanted to go to turn 9 every game.
Yep, exactly. So it was like we just got out of a math format and we're going into like a more implied combo-y oops, like I win button formats. And that's it's a little different. A lot of people I don't know if a lot of people like it or dislike it. It's just different. But you can very clearly see in a math format, a lot of decks are able to play. Right?
Mhm.
Like that was a super, super wide meta. And I think a lot of people lauded how wide that meta was and how enjoyable it was to just be able to like I can bring Tekla-Vossen, and like it's not embarrassing to bring Tekla-Vossen. Or if you brought Tekla-Vossen to your Nats this weekend, like I'm sorry, buddy, but you made some life
Dude,
choices.
you're gonna run into a new and just feel really sad.
You're gonna run into a new. You're gonna run into Enigma. You're gonna run into a Zen. Like you're gonna run into Azalea. Like just don't bring Tekla.
Yeah.
Unless you just absolutely love the hero. So I think having these over the top like combo-y math deck, like super math decks where you have like one or two like super power turns, does push a lot of things out, and it needs to be brought back in a little bit. Like Zen needs to be brought back in. Enigma, if they hit Zen too hard, will need to be brought in line because she's really
I think there's good counters distributed across the meta to Enigma. I think they could fix Enigma more by printing a generic card that ignores prevention rather than
Well, they got Vambraces. I see a lot of news tech and Vambraces and stuff. And
Vambrace is starts in play, stays in play, +1 value to everything you do.
It adds a different math value, so you have to. The Enigma constantly has to adjust the turn based on that value.
Mhm.
So
there are counters, like there are like on paper counters, like Azalea is another on paper counter.
Riptide loves that matchup.
Is another on paper counter.
Got that ping damage.
The issue is like we find if illusionists want to win a matchup, they're going to win it. Like they kind of have the card pool to do it.
I'm more thinking about like if an illusionist wants to win a matchup, they're going to win it. It's more of a Prism thing, right? Because I feel like Prism has the toolbox to literally beat everybody. But that deck is so hard to play. The decision points are so complex, and making a mistake immediately loses you the game. Like you just lose the game on the spot because you're just like, I have no armor, I have no life, half my cards don't block, I'm dead.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just, I think Enigma's very strong. I do think Zen needs to get pulled in line. Not much though. He's not like of the best decks that we have had. He's probably the second fairest best deck we've had.
That's fair.
I agree with that.
I want to say it's partly the gameplay loop that feels bad. So
it's not interactive.
It's not even that. It's the fact that you look at your hand and think, I can't even play my cards because I know by attacking the Zen, I make myself lose the game. And that feels pretty bad because you're looking at that crazy armor suite and going, I've got disruption. It's not going to be more than 10. So he's always going to just push his entire armor suite and maybe one card from hand, and then he's going to hit me for 35. And there's literally nothing I can do about it. Yeah, that like feeling bad about attacking at all is probably why there's this like negative experience. It's almost like the negativity that's targeted towards Kano, right? Because the same thing kind of happens in Kano. Oh, you're at 4 or 3 or 2 or 1. I can throw one attack at you, but I know that if I give up any of my hand, I just die to your arcane damage. And I get that sentiment, but Kano can't block with armor. And he starts at 30 health. Zen starts at 40 health with 7 armor.
Kano's love me some Kano.
I think Kano's fair. I love
Kano's definitely fair.
Kano is max one-sided fun, but
oh my goodness, I don't know. I played against Alex 4 twice as Riptide at Nationals, and that's supposed to be like the most cursed matchup. And both times it came down to the point where if he didn't have it, he was literally dead. And so it's supposed to be a cursed matchup, and I had the greatest time. It was two of my favorite matchups that I had was playing against a Kano, and I went to that tournament thinking I was going to sit down versus Kanos and just be miserable, and I wasn't. So I've never had a bad experience. It's always been exciting.
I love the deck. We can play that matchup a bunch. I love Kano.
It's occasionally you just get zapped, right? But okay.
Yeah.
Here's a way of thinking of it. Sometimes you sit down and you're in a 50-50 matchup as far as like matchup spread goes. But because of your draws, you're just 0% chance of winning. From the time you sat down the table, none of your decision points mattered. All Kano does is take that on the fast lane. Sometimes you sit down against the Kano and none of your decision points mattered, just like it did against this other deck, except instead of being 8 turns, he did it on the first turn.
Yeah, that's why I like Kano, is that like, yeah, is he degenerate? Yeah. Is he unfun to play against? Yeah, but it took 2 seconds. Like, it's fine. Like,
we'll
have a conversation afterwards.
Scoop it up. We can play another game.
Yeah. I'll bring Netrunner with me. We'll go play another game for a little bit. It'll be fun.
Zen does feel like the deck that you can't outlast and you can't outrace for most of the decks in the meta, though. And so you're either disrupting it or you're hoping that they dead draw and they don't like get the full combo or the crazy combo. But it does, like you said, it does feel like it takes some of the interaction that you're used to in the back and forth, that sort of agency swapping there is really no agency swapping versus Zen. They're either running you over or you've got it in the driver's seat and they're the ones on the back foot.
And you're supposed to go like second, right? To like compete for tempo. But sometimes you like, okay, I choose to go second in the Zen's just like, all right, throw an attack, transcend, make a tiger, lead the tail, make another tiger somehow, swing at you for more than 12 on turn 0, so you take chip damage, and I have a chi in the deck on turn 0, and you're just like, I'm doomed. This game is literally over at turn 0. I'm at 33, and he's got a chi in the deck.
They go blue descendant, transcend off it, put it just Zen ability to put whatever combo piece they want in the yard. Arsenal bonds. And you're like, oh no, I am so dead.
Yeah.
Like the game's already over.
Yeah,
but
if they transcend on turn 0, sometimes it does feel like the game just ended that first turn. And like I said, that's where I think they can make some adjustments. It's so hard for Flesh and Blood to errata cards too, because they don't like doing it since they've been so stellar about it. Like what was their biggest mistake? Like Duskblade, right? It's the only card that they've banned before it even got released.
I mean, Skeleton was a mistake.
I mean, clearly afterwards, but at least people played it for a little bit.
Awakening
and everyone
was
got
a
to
mistake.
See, yeah, this is not great. But
that was a good card.
And the only time they've had to errata something and keep it in the game was Briar, right?
Mm-hmm.
So far, so they have, like, in the years that they've been making this game, they have a pretty good track record. I'm pretty sure they don't want to have to say, like, 12 Petal Kasaya is now a block 1. Right? They don't want to say that
the Warprime card is Traverse, but they can't.
I was
like
gonna say they don't want to say Traverse is an illusionist headpiece instead of a mystic headpiece, right?
Because it restricts design space for the entire class going forward too. Like mystics have that headpiece as like their headpiece, and so you'd be shunning a whole class of heroes yet to come. They got to hit something very Zen specific if they're going to hit something. They
don't do targeted bans. That's just something they don't do. Because like a lot of other card games, they just say you cannot play Traverse if you're playing Zen. But Flesh and Blood does not do targeted bans. So, and I don't see them doing it anyway. I think they try to banish, like they try not to ban legendaries, right? Because people heavily invest in them. They get their cold foils. The gold foils are a reward for winning. Like imagine getting a gold foil Traverse and then it gets banned, right? That's the worst thing ever.
Somebody flipped one over. It's out there in the world. Somebody got a gold foil
Aaron
Traverses. Oh,
yeah. So he's a little powerful. He can be brought back online. A lot of people said the Boots ban. That's a clean one. Harmony feels a little too tough for me. I like them having powerful cards, but the 7-card hand is obnoxious, and just getting to free banish a card for Art of War is obnoxious.
An interesting thing that they said is that if you just errata Crouching Tigers, that you can't banish them out of hand or something. Like just errata Crouching Tigers so they can't interact with Art of War in that way. That's a more clunky way of handling it, but that would also fix it, right?
I hope they don't do that one. I don't want, like, as we were just lauding LSS, that like all their game decisions are smooth and fluid.
But it'd be cheap, right? It'd be cheap.
Yeah.
Because they could
because
they could print the tokens. They could just print a whole bunch of Crouching Tiger tokens that now say you cannot banish this from hand, or that Crouching Tigers never go into hand, right? They always float in this space out of hand. They very intentionally made the cards say put them in the hand because they wanted that interaction with Art of War. They literally designed that Art of War interaction.
Yeah, because it was like, what's the difference between all the Mystic Ninja cards versus regular ninjas banished first hand?
Exactly.
So it's like, that's definitely like part of the design space is being able to like put them back into the deck or banish them or whatever.
Or arsenal them.
Yeah.
And I think that would be what would be tragic is I think the smart choice to arsenal a tiger occasionally to make a following turn better is a good thing to have in the ninja toolkit, but I think just ban Art of War, honestly.
Okay, if you want to go down a different rabbit hole, ban Sync Below, Art of War, E-Strike, CNC, like
get rid of some of the old staples.
Get rid of all of them. Like just get that.
And maybe it's a limited ban, right? Like they say, we're going to ban Art of War until Zen hits Living Legend, or we're going to ban Art of War for this period of time and see how it affects the meta, right? They say it comes back at X date. We just want to see what the meta is like when this staple is no longer in the game. I don't ever want them to ban Command and Conquer. I think Command and Conquer is one of the healthiest cards in Flesh and Blood. Yeah, pummel Command and Conquer is one of the nastiest things ever, but something that interacts with the arsenal in a way that's hard to defend is a healthy thing for the game, right?
It is. Otherwise, the arsenal. I mean, there's still other classes that target the arsenal pretty well, but you want a generic way of everybody feeling like they have an equal way to threaten an arsenal when
in a game where you get to cycle your hand consistently. Having a place where you could put a card to hold that doesn't affect your hand size is really good.
Right, and you need some way of as an opposing player being able to threaten your opponent's
Max gets a lot better if Command and Conquer's out of the game.
A lot of decks get a lot better.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know. He's of the best decks we've had. He's somewhat healthy, but like he's the second best, right? Like I think KO in the last format was probably the best. Was the most healthy best deck we've had.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And I think he's the second, but just because he's reasonably healthy doesn't mean we probably shouldn't touch something there.
KO still feels good. KO's ceiling's really high, can have some really unfair, unfun interactions and things, but it comes at a price, right? He doesn't want to block, and most of his cards can't block.
He just had the weakest link printed. Like
right.
Well, it that depends on the KO build. Depends on the KO build. You could have KO that blocks quite well.
You can, but the current KO philosophy that like Rothermel and them were using was they wanted to always go again, attack, claw, think. And they wanted to be able to do that on every hand. The go again cards in KO are Wild Ride and Pulping.
Yep.
And so like your prevalent good build in KO is very, very hateable by like weakest link, agency, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's an agency. There's a way of like interacting with that matchup. Again, like it feels okay.
However,
Zen
he has
feels
a giant bridge.
It still feels good, and even Savage Sash, it still feels okay.
Yeah, when he sashes you, it's a 22 damage turn. We can live with that.
Yeah, we can live with 22.
You got 54 damage.
Think of our perspectives now. When Sash first got spoiled, everyone was just like, "What in the hell? Why are we giving this guy who has like some of the most consistent 18-point turns? Why are we giving him something that says, oh, this turn is completely non-functional? Now it's 22 damage, 24 damage.
And we all begin run Ropshod. That's a 0.
Yeah, like a 0 for 5.
Yeah, like it's insane.
And now we don't care because now we're just tired of the like the consistent like 35-point turn where he blocks 7 and pushes 25 to 35 damage.
Yeah, it's like he had 7 cards and then he used one of them for Art of War. Oh no.
It does feel rough.
In other news, Dash Inventor Extraordinaire picked up a win in the New Zealand top 8. Again, what did we say?
New Zealand win and Australia top 4. And somewhere else as well.
Dash is just different in the southeast part of the world, right? She's just diff. Like you go down there and she likes to win games. The players play her at a really high level. I don't know what's up. There's something in the water down there for Dash Inventor Extraordinaire.
This one made a lot of sense for like the meta that they were walking into for New Zealand. So like in New Zealand, you knew that there were a few really good Kano players that you were going to have to deal with. You knew that there was a Victor player that you were going to have to deal with, and you knew there was going to be a bunch of Zens, right? Mm-hmm. And then you knew that you got on New, and that was basically what you were looking at, right? You weren't going to have to worry about Azalea with this build, so they're like, hey, one of your worst matchups just doesn't really exist for their meta.
So what was the Dash build at the New Zealand?
It was mostly boost build.
Mm-hmm.
They had Hanabi Blaster in the sideboard. They only had 1 induction chamber, no defense reactions, no purifiers.
Oh, nice. So this was like a completely degenerate, like go Dash. Because I don't have to worry about. This is not a fatigue meta. No one's going to fatigue me. And if they do try to, I'll gun them down with the 1 induction chamber.
Yeah, it was like Rainbow T-Bone, Meganetic, that kind of stuff.
Heck yeah. If there's ever been a time for 9 T-Bones and Meganetic Shockwave, it's this meta. This is the most. It's so effective against Rangers and Ninja and New.
All the Mystics.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Half of Enigma's package like gets hosed by it.
You pull Traverse off the board before Enigma's ready to use it. They're in trouble.
Yeah, you saved yourself a huge amount of value by pulling Traverse early.
Yeah, and then it's like, true. Okay, they're gonna play Footsteps, cool. They're playing Uphold Tradition, which doesn't go on the combat chain at all because it's cloaked. Yep. So then they snipe the Tunic next, and then after that, like the next time you do it, it's literally you just need to see your second T-bone again, and you snipe Traverse. It's like this is such a good meta for that.
Yeah, you have to. It forces you to bring in Phantasmal Footsteps.
Yes, and even if you bring in Footsteps, like you're only ever like Traverse is the third piece that goes on the chain. You don't have an arm slot that really goes there.
Right. So she's hitting the scary point on Living Legend. She's at 860. Any significant event win, and she's pretty much done. She'll sell off into the sunset and take one of the coolest weapons in Flesh and Blood with her.
She takes plasma pistol, right?
Yep, the Tekla plasma pistol, and it might be the most creative weapon in Flesh and Blood. It'll be sad to see it go. There'll be a couple items just sitting in the card pool that don't do anything. She's got the only upgradable weapon, right?
That is cool.
Tekla Lawson has an upgradable weapon.
His weapon
like
does
you actually like. Yeah, I guess the armor does it a little bit, but like the building the gun up.
I know what you mean. The
only heroes that really kind of get close would be maybe Tekla Lawson, but the gun's not really part of his focus.
He's building the armor. The gun gets better.
Dawnblade is the only other weapon that's like that, where you're really building up the weapon.
It is one of the coolest weapons. I don't know if it's the coolest, but I'm trying to think of it. It is definitely one of them.
Also, there's some heroes that get significantly worse once that weapon goes away. Max gets much worse. I think the wrench, the Banksy is pretty bad. And Data Doll becomes unplayable if Blitz meant anything to you.
Well, that's Blitz. She's still around in Blitz.
I think she's about to LL in Blitz too, isn't she?
Oh no. Okay.
Like when that gun goes, she's at 429. It's only 500 points to Living Legend in Blitz. So she's the top hero on the Living Legend list on both tiers, on both Blitz and CC. So yeah, Data Doll becomes unplayable. I don't know if you've played Data Doll and how she interacts with that gun, but it's really, really funny with the crank items. But yeah, so she'll lose a lot of points once that gun leaves the game for her too.
I don't know. I want some more heroes to rotate. Like they're injecting a lot of heroes, and that's awesome, and that's a lot of fun. But also, what equally shakes up the meta as much is when a hero just rotates.
There are 27 legal heroes in Classic Constructed right now.
It's so many.
It is a lot.
There are quite a few. But doesn't it feel kind of bad that one of the heroes that just came out is already halfway through the Living Legend cycle is in? I mean, like projected wise, like it just as somebody who like maybe like Zen's great. I really like the way he plays and stuff, and like your entire career with that hero is just already, limited.
I'd be over the moon if like Azalea was in that spot instead, because realistically, Azalea was released in Outsiders, right? Like. Like before that, she had like,
and she's still not gone.
Yeah, she's not there. But like, if Azalea was like sunsetting now, that would be a good deck to go in terms of just like timetables. You're gonna have some busted decks that just like rotate out in a year. That's whatever. Like that sucks. But good decks are good. Let them be good and get out of here.
Man, and when you play Azalea, she's so clearly S tier. She feels S tier when you play her. She is
the
very
craziest
strong.
part is that she has maybe the worst top 8 to win ratio of any deck.
She just has the Runeblade problem, right? She's got every once in a while she'll have the games where she'll be in control, she'll be doing everything, and she'll go lace with blood rot, premeditate, seek and destroy. This hand blocks 8 and does 0.
James White and Brian Gottlieb, if either of you are listening to this, please let Rosetta fix the Runeblade problem. Please don't make me play 30 non-attack actions. Please.
You mean you don't love picking up your hand and going, Ooh, block 8, do 0.
No, I don't want to have to play Tomo Harvest because I have to unbrick a Runeblade hand. I want to play Tomo Harvest because it's a blue Earth card and it's cool. Like, oh man.
Yeah,
That drives me nuts.
I want to start picking up some essentials for Florian because I really like the life and death kind of aspect of his character. So yeah, I might join you in the Runeblade woes, but I'm also already a Runeblade lover because I played RuneGate Chain in his like very short stint in the Blitz meta, and that's some of the most fun, degenerate Flesh and Blood I've ever played.
Just make me like 21, like make me play 21 and non-attack actions. That's it. Just make me play 21. That's like you're gonna have like one-ish a hand. That's fine. That's fine. Just do that, please.
Nope, you need like 33.
I'm looking forward to.
Don't do that to me, please. Don't.
I'm looking forward to Aurora. I think Aurora's going to take some time to figure out, but I really think Aurora's going to be really fun.
She has a way to deal damage on her opponent's turn and draw an extra card every round. Seems pretty good.
Go again on a stick too is always pretty good. I mean, granted, it's conditional.
It is really expensive. It's just a worse prior go again clause.
We'll take it. Well, but I like that. That means that they can
go again clause.
That means that they can give some unfair things and not have it just go out of control instantly.
Yeah, possibly.
She's going to be aided by the lightning pool pretty heavily.
Okay. Plus, I just think a lot of those heroes are going to fit the identity niche really well for what they're going to do.
So excited for Rosetta.
And then if Verdance becomes like the Turtle Master, then I mean she's already got the. I'm just going to sell Dory to the Wasteland and just play that. So I mean it's like trading a blonde for a redhead. We could do it.
I think you just drop the warrior for like a season. Just say to yourself, I'm not going to play warrior at all for an entire season. And you'll be like, why was I just sticking to one deck? It's so much fun to jump around and try these different heroes out.
Yeah, jump around.
There's a lot of good heroes.
No, there are a lot of good heroes. Again,
you just have to commit. You just have to say to yourself, I know I'm comfortable and I love this deck. Just say, not going to play it. Even when I think it's good or it might be fun to play, just go, nope.
It sure isn't good. At least not right now. Granted, I know there's still people out there that are figuring out ways to win, and that
make it easier.
Kudos to you. But it feels rough right now.
Yeah, 6-0 your draft pod and or your drafts and get into top 8 that way.
Yeah, that's pretty much how you're gonna have to do it. Yeah. Swiss is a mix up. 50% in Swiss, but I'm really good at draft.
Yeah, just win your drafts. That's it. We're what, 3 weeks out from Amsterdam?
Is it that close?
Yeah.
Oh god. Well, at least I'm not going. I don't have to be stressed out about it. But I should like get into some deck testing and help some players out that are going.
Yeah.
My brain is kind of just like turned off. I'm like, I'm not competing in any of the major events. I'm just kind of like, I'm going to play Hades too.
But it's a good thing because there's going to be that time you're going to have to get back to the grind again, and you gotta enjoy the ebb and flow of that too. When it's your time and you're the one playing in the competitive, you're hard in the paint, and then you gotta dial it back.
Yep.
And kind of reassess the meta and this is a good time. Like this is a good time. Play some decks, lose, have a good time. Go to Armory with random things, test it out.
Speaking of competing, August 17th, we have an event right here in Atlanta, Georgia. We're going to do a Realm Invitational. That event link will be in the description for this video because it is live now. It's $30 to enter. Prize pool will be $500 plus. And I hope everyone in the Southeast who can make the drive comes out and plays great games of Flesh and Blood.
Yeah, we will definitely distribute that $500 prize pool the absolute best we can, and obviously if we get more entries and it goes up, we'll add more to it. And I've got some skirmish mats that I can give away. I know it's kind of cool, so I've got some weird things. Yeah, so there's definitely some cool raffle stuff.
Some when we say the prize pool is $500, some of it will be raffle. As much of it as possible will go to the top 8. But just to make it where everyone has a chance to get something, there will have some raffles. So there'll be several different tiers and a reason to be there.
I'll make it interesting. I definitely want to make sure everybody has a good time and feel like that they were, if they drove, 4, 5, 6 hours, that at least it was a good atmosphere, good fun. You had a chance to win some things, some boxes, some mats. Not everyday mats either. So
the Georgia
promos, things like that.
Vibe, so it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and we have a lot of really good. like you said, really good vibes, really good players. You're in good hands down in the southeast with us.
Right. Anyone got anything else for this week?
No. I mean, if you're gonna fix Zen, fix him now. Like, let me know. Let me know before.
I mean, we'll know soon because if they're gonna, I would think they would do it before the Worlds and Pro Tour season, but
If they're doing anything, the 2 timetables to look at would be this Monday, and then the Monday before the world premiere. I believe is the normal other time that they would do like a banned and restricted.
right.
So
Okay.
those are the days to keep your eyes out for.
So, yeah, I'm at What the System Fab. You could find me on Twitter, and you can just find me as What the System pretty much everywhere on Discord. Just at me if you ever want to talk to me. I'll make sure to answer. Noah, where can they find you?
You can find me at twitch.tv/BigMax and at BigMaxFab on Twitter.
And Justin?
And I am J_Evs5 on Twitter. There we go. I remembered it.
Yeah.
I remembered it.
It's like a self riddle. I like it though.
Yeah.
Just
Like using Jevs for everything, and then
It's like you're sitting there remembering your
password.
password that you use
Yeah.
everywhere, and you're just reciting it.
You're like, it's
literally.
one of these variations, and I can't remember if there's a 5 there or something, but it's one of those passwords.
Yeah, it's one of those. But yeah, it's that one for Twitter if you want to find me.
All right, take us out of here, Noah.
Thanks everyone for joining us. We hope you enjoyed catching up with us this week, and if you did, subscribe or follow depending on where you found us to catch us again. Until then, take care of yourselves, and remember, we're all siblings in cardboard. Take care, everybody. And don't forget to discard your cards. No matter what they ban from Zen, they're not banned in Pummel. So you gotta discard your cards. And D-Chi, no IP penalties.